Hi, good evening, everyone. How you doing? I'm Lee Love, and this is Photo Mentor TV. Another episode tonight. I think this is episode number 76, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, who's counting, right? Um, Tonight is photo review tonight, and show you this. This is what we're going to be doing tonight. The first Tuesday of every month, we always do photo reviews. You submit your work, and we'll look at it for both the technical, aesthetics, and storytelling capability. We use it's not whether I like the photo or not, it's based on the 7 elements of art and design. And so we'll talk about, you'll learn a lot more about that. I've covered this in other episodes, but anyway, you'll learn a little more about that tonight as we go through this. So anyway, I'm glad you're here, and we've got a lot to cover tonight. We have a lot of reviews submitted, probably more we've ever had before, which is great. But you know, it's kind of one of those things is you got to be careful what you ask for. So hopefully I don't miss anybody or any of the submissions that you guys have provided, and hopefully the feedback is useful. Also, the other thing we're going to be doing tonight is we also announce on the first Tuesday of the month the Photo Mentor Artist of the Month. And this is the person that there's a lot of, I'll go into more detail, but there's a lot of attributes that I look for in selecting that person. And we'll talk about who won last month, and then also a little bit about the person that we're going to be awarding that to this month. So anyway, let's get going, because like I said, we got a lot to cover here, and want to make sure we get everybody in and all your photos in. So let's see here. The first thing, let me give you a little explanation here real quick so you understand how this works. We typically go through, and I will use these guidelines to determine and give you feedback on your photo. And also based on, if this is your first time here, you may not be aware, I'm a commercial photographer. Been doing this for about 30 years, and also my specialty is advertising and magazine work. And so I use that expertise and background to help you guys improve your images and give you an idea of what it would be like if I were shooting this photo, or if I were submitting it to a publication. So anyway, that's the way that works, and that's the guidelines we're going to use, and I'm going to explain some of these as we go along. So the first image tonight we're going to go into is this one right here. Sorry, let me bring up my notes so I can tell you guys a little bit about this photo. This photo was, now, by the way, you guys may not be aware, if this is your first time here, we do this anonymously. So, and the reason is, number one, I wouldn't embarrass you anyway, but the idea is to encourage you to submit your work. So a lot of people that we work with are new photographers, been shooting less than a year. And I don't want anybody to be, discouraged or anything like that. So I just do this anonymously. So this photo was submitted by DV. And DV is actually a professional photographer, and they've been doing this a while. This is a woman that's an older woman. She's very passionate about her flowers and her garden and her vegetable garden. And this was taken apparently at sunset when she was in her garden of peonies field. I think that's the way you pronounce that. Anyway, so on this image right here, I would say did a good job on the lighting on this one. I would have suggested maybe a little more of the flowers take a little more center stage on this photo, to try and make that more of the story. I mean, obviously, you can tell they're in a flower bed there. She's flowers, but it would have been nice to be able to show this a little more in a garden, so you knew that it was a garden. You can do that for a couple of ways. One would be to use a longer lens, like a 70 to 200 2.8 or something like that, and back up and zoom in, and then that would compress the foreground and the background and would have brought them closer together. That would have been one way of doing it. The other one is you could have used the flowers as a prop by having her more in the foreground, or maybe around her face or something like that. So, but it's still a very nice photo. Technically it's done very well. And this could run in any magazine. There's nothing wrong with it the way it is. For feedback, I would say that this photo could have been a little stronger in storytelling, but it's good in composition and appropriate in lighting and things like that. So I would say, as far as using the guidelines on how this photo works, I would say it works pretty well on using the 7 elements. One of the 7 elements is that it would be in space, and putting there'd be nice if there's a little more foreground. The photos were a little more in the foreground, but so that would have helped a little bit, and maybe a little bit more in the in color could have also made this a little stronger image as well. But it still works. And so anyway, that's the deal on that first photo. And again, that's was submitted by DV, and appreciate you doing that. It's got some excellent work. So we've shown off some of our other work here in the past, and it's very, very good. Okay, so the next photo is this one was submitted by AE, and AE has only been shooting less than a year. And one of the couple of things, it's nice to always know what people struggle with, and I think you guys are, it's going to be interesting. You're going to hear some common terms here. Let me move that away. A little reflection on my glasses there. It's kind of hard to see. So this is one where you're going to find a little bit of a little bit of help there would be in anyway, less than a year. So AE's been struggles with guess what, editing and lighting, and I see that a lot. There's a lot of people that have that. You're going to hear that a lot tonight. People have that as an issue, and they're always looking to improve in that area. So this is a fun sunset that they shot. They just thought it was a beautiful looking sunset. And so let me pull that up. I'm going to kind of show you a couple of things here that you might be able to improve on this on. This was, let's see here. I think it's this one right here. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, so this is the photo here. And so there's a couple of things you want to keep in mind. First of all, when you're using a photograph like this, and you want to think and especially what's the most important. So if you said, oh well, this is great, it's along the lines of the rule of thirds, that's true, but what you're also trying to do is lead the viewer's eye. And so what I would have suggested on something like this would have been a little more sky. Now again, the sky is the most important thing. You can see that this bottom part down here of the ground really doesn't lend itself to doing anything to the image. Our eyes are drawn typically to the lighter part of a frame, not the darker part. So by cropping that, or by repositioning your camera and shooting a little more of the sky, that would have made the sky more important. The other thing you could have done, AE, is you could have used these bushes or these trees here as a little more of a frame also. The thing, see, here's the problem. There's just so many sunsets, so many gazillion sunsets out there, that it's really hard to shoot one that's going to be impactful. So you kind of have to use the foreground and the surrounding areas to make it a stronger image, because this could have been shot anywhere at any time, and so it doesn't tell us much about the sunset or the area or anything like that. So number one, I would suggest in the future that you might crop it a little more, or at least when you in camera, when you crop it, don't do it afterwards. Tilt your camera up a little bit more, shoot a little more of the sky. So I would say this image definitely works for the area of color, and that, you know, probably the strongest image there is based on that. So again, use of color is very strong in this image, but other than that, it's not really that interesting of an image. So you know, there's not much for the viewer to latch on to. So I understand sunsets are very popular, new photographers. You know, let's face it, they're everywhere, and it's so rare to be able to capture a sunset the way that we feel it and see it as in person. So I get that it's an issue, and I understand that it's very difficult to do. Now, they also submitted another photo, and it's this one right here, and I don't quite understand the comment, but it says that it was, the reason they took it was cool looking TV. I don't quite know what that means, but I guess maybe he could mean travel trailer or the item itself. So again, this is kind of a snapshot, but the more I looked at it, the more I could see some potential here. It would require some post-processing on it, but you could really grunge this up, and using some clarity and some other techniques, darken the background some, and you could use this as an element in a photo, to really, as a composite almost, to make it kind of interesting, because it is a little bit ominous looking, and it's got a little bit of a face to it if you look at it really, with the eyes and those acting as the headlights there. So anyway, I assume because of the foil in the foreground that it's actually, I guess it's being used, you know, there's someone actually residing inside. So anyway, that's the deal on that one, AE. So thanks for the submission, everyone, and thank you very much. I hope this feedback is a little bit helpful. Again, you guys are just joining us. Be sure and put where you're from in the comments. It's always nice to know where you guys are coming from. Okay, let's see here. I think I got my next one here. Let's see if I do or not. Yeah, okay. So this one here is an interesting one. This is kind of a nice photo here. And especially if you're into photographing people, which I typically am. So this one was submitted by KN. KN's been shooting about 5 years or more, and I'll show you, there's two images of this person, and they really wanted some feedback on whether the full length or the crop one coming up which one they thought was better. And it said apparently a friend came by, wanted to tour, saw he had a camera with him. The guy has camera and wanted to have some pictures taken. So that's cool. So here's the two images together. This is the one image, and this is the other one. Now they both tell a story, and they're kind of close in that I think, you know, you kind of almost need something in between the two. This one's a little too loose. And this one might be a little too tight, but you certainly know they're a firefighter. You certainly know that they're a first responder. But it would have been nice to use the equipment a little bit more, to be able to tell that story. So, for example, here's something you could have done. Instead of having them just sit on the fire engine, what if you'd have had them alongside the fire engine, and you use the fire engine, you shot down along the edge of the fire engine, so you put something in the foreground to draw the eye to the person. Okay, so instead of just sticking them there as kind of a typical portrait, if you could have used the fire truck as part of that, or maybe had them sit in the fire truck and shoot up through the window or through the door. When you shoot just a little bit below eye line, it always makes the person a little bit stronger, and it's a technique I use quite a bit when photographing sports, because it really makes the person a little more powerful looking. And you could have done the same thing with this person here. And so the two things would have been maybe shoot up on a little bit, have them standing like they're getting ready to get in the fire truck and turning back at you, which would have been kind of a little bit like you caught them in motion almost. And then the other thing is you could have them alongside the fire truck where you see all the gear and the hoses and things like that, but they're sitting next to it, and use that as the foreground to draw the eye to the subject. That would have been the other thing that I would have done. It's all about telling story. So there is definitely some line in here, you know, especially in this one right here. Use lines to kind of draw the person, the subject or the eye to the subject. There's also some shape, meaning the shapes of the fire truck and things like that. And then I would also say the color, of course, helps to as something, an element that you're going to find in this image. Obviously, also if you look at the red and the yellow are certainly vibrant, and that adds to the image as well, as far as making the image stand out a bit more. But it doesn't do a whole lot in telling the story, and that's the only thing. So that's why I would have used the fire truck or the elements there to be able to use more of a storytelling. And that's a big thing you're going to find that I'm going to harp on a lot in these images, is that you want to make sure you're trying to tell a story, that you're trying to get across what's going on with the person, or there's more to than just a portrait. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is make sure that you're using the elements around you to draw the eye where you want the viewer to look. Again, remember, got this frame here, and it's our job as photographers to use every aspect of that frame purposefully. So you don't just throw somebody in the middle of a frame. You want to use that element to draw the eye where you want it, because otherwise, here's what happens. They wander around the frame going, oh, well, they don't know what's important. You have to tell them what's important. You have to show them what's important in that frame and what you want them to look at. And so you want to use that every aspect of that frame to do that. So, okay, so make sure if I got any questions here in the meantime. Let's see here, sorry. Okay. Well, let's see. Well, we got Jessica here. So Jessica's gonna. Nice to see you, Jessica. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm gonna be talking about Jessica here. We're gonna be showing about. Whoops. We are going to be talking about Jessica in a minute. We're going to talk about an article that Sue Ann wrote that was just excellent, that I think you guys are really, really going to like them. So anyway. Okay, so let me get moving because we got a lot more to cover. So the next image is from, let's see. Oh, so the next image is from TA. TA's only been shooting about 1 to 2 years. And this is kind of an interesting image. I like this image a lot, actually. Of course, it's not whether I like it or not. That's the only thing. But TA, the description that they gave on this image was they were attempting to try and tell a silent support for husband and wife. And I think that this does a good job of trying to support a story. And I think it's nice that you're already starting to think in that regard. So, you could have certainly, there's certainly a lot of ways to do that, but one of the ways to do that, I'm going to show you a little more how to strengthen this image a little bit, I think, here, would be to tighten this up just a little bit. Again, you're trying to show, you want to be able to, let's see, here it is right here. You want to be able to, you want to be able to lead the viewer's eye. So you don't want to waste any of the framing here. So what you can do, so on this one right here, what I would have done, so it's not bad, it's close. Okay, so I'd have brought it down, I'd have brought it in a little bit, and maybe even crop just a little bit of the top in. Okay, so now, and why would you do this? Because it makes it a more intimate photo. Okay, and that's really what you're trying to get across. I mean, you'd ruin a little bit here. Let's just say we don't want, the cigar is an important element in the photo. We're not, so we don't want to get rid of that. But I'm just going to show you here what I mean by making it an intimate photo. So see how intimate that looks compared to the other one? Before, there was just a lot going on, and so in fact you could probably leave it just a little bit like that. You might be able to come down just a little bit here, keep the hand in there so you're not losing that, because that's an important, again, element in the photo. But my point is, if you look, it becomes a much more intimate photo where now really we can look into her eyes, we can see him. So the intimacy really increases when you do that. So don't be afraid to do tight shots on something like this as well. I also, it would have been nice if his eyes, you can see his eyes just a little bit in there. So if he'd have tipped his hat back or his head back just a little bit, that would have helped a little bit in making that connection between the two of them. And then also you might have suggested, as a pose, have her holding the cigar but kind of tilting her head, kind of looking up at him, almost like out of one eye almost, or just tilting back. That also would have added a little more tension to the photo and made it a little stronger. But it's still a very good approach. I like where you're going with this, and I think you're on the right track, because you're trying to play with that, the emotion, which is very, very important. So again, you're kind of using the shapes there of the face and the hat to draw people's attention to that photo and to make it a more in communication. And then also, I think that the texture in the background and the cigar also helps as well. So those are two elements. So let me tell you, let me give you an explanation of what we're kind of talking about here. So why are these elements important? Okay, the reason they're important is because, and I've covered this in other sessions before, other broadcasts before, so you might want to go back and look at them. But these are the 7 elements of art, and you're going to find one or more of these in every piece of art. And so, okay, like, great, why? Is that just... The reason is these are like verbs, nouns, and other language you use. They mean something. Like for example, lines. There's vertical lines, horizontal lines. Vertical lines and horizontal lines have very different meaning. The brain interprets them very differently. The brain interprets vertical lines as strength, tall. Okay? They interpret horizontal lines as comforting. They interpret zigzag lines as chaos, and I wanted to give you some examples of this. I'm going to try and add this to this in the future. Try and give you samples of photos that communicate these kinds of languages and these symbols to you, so that you understand what I'm talking about a little bit more. But everything here says something. And communicate something subconsciously to the brain, and that's why you want to try and be aware of them, and you want to try and use them. So that's what I'm trying to, that's the point I'm trying to make about this right here. Okay. All right, so let's see what else we got. So sorry about that. We got a lot of things to cover here. The next image, this is a good one. This was submitted by MT. And those of you in the group have probably seen this photo, but it's her daughter, and MT's her daughter wanted to be a rock star, and so wanted to capture her in all her glory. I think it's a great image. It does really, really well. It accomplishes a number of things in being able to do that. I think it certainly uses color and value, value being lights and darks and grays. It also, I think, in the hair adds texture, which adds to the image. And of course, then there's some form in the microphone and the outfit and things she's wearing. So that's other things that make this image work. But the point is that the story is also the really important part. And the story is trying to, appear to be a rock star. Okay, so great. So while the photo works the way it is, what would you do to add to it to make it a stronger photo? I'm going to ask you guys if you have your own opinion on this, and then I'm going to give you some ideas. So there's a couple things you could do to make this a stronger photo. And one of them I would say would be lighting. Now, the lighting that you've used is great, but if this were a rock concert, it would typically have some kind of gels or some kind of color to it. Now, you might be able to do some of that in post if you wanted to really work with that. I'm not going to go into detail here and show you how to do it because just don't have time tonight. But you could take and put a color overlay on it and then mask that so it only shows in certain parts so it looks like it's a spotlight coming in. And that would be one thing. Or you could also take, even if you didn't have spotlights or real lights to be able to use, you could have used a flashlight even behind them. Or how about if you'd have taken a cell phone and held that up in front of you were taking a picture of the rock star, right? Wouldn't even have to, you could see their picture on the phone, even though if it was out of focus, meaning you don't need much depth of field. But to kind of try and enhance the story and make it a little bit believable. But I think it's cool. I love what you're doing. I think it's a great approach. I think that the concept, I love that you're using a concept to start with, first of all. Concept photos are my favorite because they always are beginning from a story standpoint. You may not accomplish it every time, but at least you're starting from the point of being able to think about a storytelling, and that's critical in every photo. So good job on that one as well. So anyway, those are a couple of suggestions I would make if you want to kind of try them. It's a little bit, the term is kind of called selling the fake, It's not, we know she's not a rock star, but the point is you want to make it look a little bit like that. And so you'd use some kind of colored gels or something to do that. I think you also play an instrument, if I'm not mistaken. But if that was in there as well somewhere, that might also help in that regard. Okay, so let's see what the next one is. So the next one was submitted by BL. BL's only been shooting about 1 to 2 years, and they wanted to create something with kind of an ethereal and feel, something golden with warmth, but wanted to also practice lighting, their off-camera lighting. And I would say they nailed this. There's not much more I could really suggest on this image. I think it's really, you did a good job on the lighting. You, and again, being able to capture that sunset back there and still get the lighting is right. I also think that you've done a good job in setting a scene. Okay, you've created a story, again, using props like the lantern, using the book, the window. All those things are props that are using to reinforce the story. So I think that's excellent, and the lighting is absolutely perfect. The off-camera lighting on that, the balance on the face that you've got is really, really good. So kudos on this one. I think you've really done a great job, and there's not much I could suggest you could have done on this. So anyway, nice job, BL. And I hope you submit some more work, because I think this is great. I don't know if you're a member of the of our Facebook group or not, but it would be nice to um, see some more of your work, because I think I think it would really be helpful, and people would really enjoy it. So anyway, okay. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. So the next one, let's see what our next image is. Okay, so our next image is from MT. And MT, this is a photo they submitted. It's just kind of a snapshot, just kind of a photo, really, of the of a behind the scenes of a music video set they were documenting for this project. And so, you know, not much I can really suggest on this one. It really, again, if you were there and you were hired or even just on set to be able to document it, this would have been a good overall view. But then I would have thought you would have submitted some of the photos that were maybe closer. So let me kind of give you a quick scenario on how this works. If you ever look at a movie set, or let me back up. If you ever look at a film, here's something that'll ruin it for you. Okay, but try and look at it this way. What you're going to find is the first image or the first frame or so scene of the film is a little bit wider. They're setting the scene. They're putting context of what's going on. That's really what this photo here is doing. Okay, so that some people, oh, okay, I see they're on the ranch, or they're here, or they're in the city, or whatever. Typically, the next scene will be a mid shot, a medium shot of a twosome, a two shot, or something like that. So they've established the scene. They tell you where they are visually. The next scene is to kind of let you connect to the characters. Say, oh, okay, here's the characters. And then the third scene, or maybe the fourth scene, depending on what's going on in the dialogue, will be a tighter shot. You would never, ever jump, well, I say never, ever. You will never find them really jump to a tight shot right up front. And the reason is it freaks people out. They don't know where they are. They're out of context. The only time you see them do it is when they are trying to create suspense, right? Think about a horror movie you've seen. Okay, there's somebody, they're looking in the window and they're washing the dishes or whatever, and the next thing you see a tight shot of a person outside looking around the bushes. Well, why did they do that? It didn't start with a wide shot, right? They went to immediately with a tight shot because they're trying to throw you off. They're trying to show you the scene out of context. They're trying to immediately go, so you're now trying to figure out what's going on. The reason I bring that up is in this scenario here, this would have been the first shot. But the next image that I would have wanted to take, or that I would have suggested, would have been over the shoulder of the cameraman, showing the camera, them looking through the viewfinder, and then the subject behind in the background. So that would have shown the kind of more of BTS, what's going on behind the scenes, and a little more showing of action. So right now, this is really not, this is, again, it's setting the scene, but that's about it. So anyway, I won't dwell on that. Okay, so this one right here, I think there was actually supposed to be another image there. Sorry about that. Let me look here and see if I messed up. I don't have it, but I know I am supposed to have it. Anyway, so this photo right here was from HA. HA's been shooting about 3 or 4 years, and this is a photo of their son, who's modeling a brand, I guess, of clothes that he wears, that he models. He's working as a young model. So, HA, I'm not sure what you're trying to show here, but I would say if you're listening to what if you're trying to set him up as a model and maybe showing off the clothing, then you want to make the clothing the hero of the shot. The clothing is more important than your son, unfortunately, in this particular case. So, and you also want to show him enjoying, what he's doing. So he looks like he's what's typically called a lifestyle photo. A lifestyle photo shows people doing things, having fun, and you tried to do this a little bit with by putting his foot up on the pipe or whatever there, and his hands in his pocket. It's also good that he's not looking in the camera, because that typically tries to connect to the audience, and so it's good that you have him looking off camera. But there is, the pole coming out of his head is kind of distracting. So what you could have done is turned off to one side. If you'd have moved over 2 feet to the left or right, then that pole would have not been in the way. Or you could have used the pole as a prop, have him lean against the pole. Okay, then, like he's waiting on somebody or looking for something. Then that would have made it a more interactive kind of a thing, where it's like, oh, okay, I'm just kind of waiting on my buds come around here, kind of a thing. That would have made it stronger. But so as it is right now, I see where you're going with it, and you're trying to look like he's a model, but he's not. Also cutting off the bottom of the foot, so that means you have to either crop it a little tighter, which might have made it work a little bit better. But I would say that the emotion isn't there, and also the framing isn't there. That post needs to be removed. But, send me some other photos that you might have of him in a situation. And again, think lifestyle. If you want to start doing more of this kind of work, look up lifestyle photography and look at what's going on. You'll see models like they're walking, like they're laughing with each other, even they have a purse over their shoulder or something. They're trying to show off whatever the clothing is. But it looks like they're enjoying life because they're wearing these clothes. And that's really what you're trying to accomplish here. Now, maybe that's not the kind of stuff you're trying to do. I don't know. But that's typically what people will buy. And that's, you want people to connect to the environment. You're really selling the emotion more than you are the clothes. The clothes are kind of just there. I know it sounds silly because that's really the hero. But it's the emotion and the fun and the lifestyle, right, that you're trying. I mean, when they show you a car ad, right, they show you a person driving and they're smiling and they're having fun and they're enjoying the road. They don't talk much about the car. It's all about the emotion and the experience. And that's what you want to try and do here. Okay. Let me go back real quick. Let's see if we have any other comments. Okay. All right, so let's look at the next one. The next one is, I don't know why I did that. Shouldn't. The next one is, changed on me. Sorry about that. Okay. So this is an interesting photo here. It really intrigued me. And this one is this was submitted by TK, and TK says, number one, the struggles that they have are editing and lighting. Sound familiar? We talked about that. And before I forget, I should mention to you guys, because this is mentioned over and over again, you guys keep listening to this as struggles. There are two things that I've got going on for you right now. Number one, I've got a 4-part series on lighting outdoors that I'm going to be releasing shortly, as soon as I get that finished editing. My editor's a jerk. He just, he goofs off. The problem is he's a board of directors member, me, myself, and I, and he's not very trustworthy. In other words, me. So I'm trying to get this finished as 4-part series edited, so you guys make it available for you. So I'm really, for those of you that are new, I think TK, you are new. It's the first time you've been here. I love lighting, you guys. I'm obsessed with it. And so if you want to learn lighting, I would love to share with you. I've done a number of lighting shows, and I'm going to continue to do more. So anyway, just stick around. Editing is another one of my passions. I teach Lightroom and Photoshop, and I certainly can help you in that area as well. I did a mini workshop, a 2.5 hour workshop on Lightroom, and I'm getting ready to work on another one here shortly as well. So anyway, so if those are two things you guys are struggling with, believe me, I've got plenty of material to share with you. Anyway, so TK says this is a shop he did his cousin and reflection, and looked. He thought he would like the reflection, and I agree. It needs to be brightened up a little bit. Again, that's where the editing comes in. And I don't know if you cropped it. It looks a little narrow. Maybe it was a phone or something. But if there's any more room on the left, that would have also helped. But it does have some strong elements to it. Again, it's got some lines to it there. That line, in the middle, that and him what he's leaning in, that really helps separate the two and also makes it a stronger image. Also, I would say that the form of the shape there of the two of them, and the line, again, the lines coming in from the top help draw your eye to him, your cousin, and that's also important. So I would say those are two strengths of this image. So I think you're on the right track here. I like what you're trying to do. I would have wondered if it had been what it looked like if it would have been. Let's see. This is TK's image. Let me see if I can bring this up. I wonder what this would look like if you would have done it horizontally. Okay, let's see here, TK. So if you, this is just for fun. Let's see what this would look like. Whoops. Sorry. If you'd have done this way, guys are probably like, all he does is crop. Oh. Well, it's the best way okay. Once again, kind of makes it a little more intense or a little more intimate. You could also come in here with your levels, and you could have adjusted, we'll just do default, and let's see if I can bring this up a little bit. Okay. You could also mask this. That had been the other thing, meaning what you could do is you can add an adjustment and then just bring this side of the image, the levels on this side of the image up a little bit more. It also might work a little bit better, just curious, in black and white also. Not sure on this one. You could try it though. So anyway, just you can that's an option. So you never really quite know what's going to work until you see it, but it's not uncommon to try and I do this a lot, where sometimes there's something there. We all know it, okay? You know that you feel it, but you can't quite put your hand on it, all right? And so by working with the image later on, then you'll kind of figure out what it may be. In other words, with this one right here, the image that I showed you here, when you zoom in on it and you crop it, it really becomes a little bit stronger image, I think, because all the stuff underneath doesn't really. If you look at the information here below, it doesn't really add to the image, right? If it drew your eye to the subject, then you might want to keep it there. But because it doesn't, it might work better this way. Okay, so that's something to think about. So because now there's nowhere for me to look. I'm going right to his eyes. I'm going right to him, and I immediately see the reflection as well. So anyway, cool. I love the concept. I think you're onto something there. And I would encourage you to keep working on that kind of thing. You obviously have a good eye. You see these things, and you know. So anyway, stick with that. I think you're onto something, like I said, with that, and I'd like to see you develop a little bit more. Okay. When you say lifestyle, okay, so Tank asked a question here, and let me see if I can answer this, you guys. So Tank says, when I say lifestyle, is it similar to editorial? I differentiate the two, Tank, and the reason is this. Lifestyle is more, I guess it could sort of be editorial, but editorial is more storytelling. Okay, so when I shoot something for a magazine, as an article, it's typically reinforcing the words in the article. All right, so I already know what the story is, or they're told me roughly what the story is going to be about, and I'm kind of shooting to that element. Lifestyle, on the other hand, is more, hey, it's Miller time kind of a thing. People sitting around on a commercial with a fire, and they have their trucks in the background or cars in the background, and it's an ad for the cars. Or if look at something like if you look at any of the fashion magazines or fashion stuff, like Michael Kors. It's crazy. I go in these places with my wife or whatever, the mall, and I'm staring at all these pictures on the wall from these different ads, and that's what I'm mesmerized by. Michael Kors ads and things like that, and those are all lifestyle. So lifestyle is really more about, like, you're observing people in their element, having fun, okay, or living some kind of a lifestyle, lounging, having their coffee, looking out the window kind of thing. Editorial is a little more purposeful. Editorial tends to be more, I'm really trying to tell a direct story. So, for example, I was covering a story last week, I think it was, down in the district, and I had a subject that I had to connect with, and they were marching down there, and so I wanted to show the environment. I wanted to show them holding a sign, whatever. That was editorial. That wouldn't really be lifestyle. So I hope that helps clarify things for you. Okay, cool. All right, nice. Okay, so let's see what else we got. The next one is, okay, this one is from, SJ, and SJ has been shooting about 1 to 2 years, and their struggles are exposure and lighting. And again, I love to work in answering lighting questions. I think maybe I need to do another lighting class, another lighting show maybe next week. Mainly, they said, mainly with composition and lighting, I feel photos are overly exposed. Overly exposed sometimes. Well, SJ, I'd ask you one question. When I hear people or I see pictures that are typically overexposed, the first thing I think of, and I may be wrong in your case, is that someone told you need to shoot on manual, and that's why you're doing that. Because there's no modern camera. Most modern cameras will not overexpose a photo unless you tell it to, or you aim it at something. But even if you take a photo and you aim it at the sun, it's going to close down the aperture, and it's probably not going to be overexposed. I mean, it can be, of course. But if it fake out the light meter, if you're photographing the moon, right? The moon's overexposed because it sees all this black around it, and so it thinks that it needs to turn up the exposure when indeed it needs to turn it down. That kind of thing is just the light meter not understanding what's going on, and you not understanding how to use the reading in the light meter. But for the most part, I find that when people's images are overexposed, it's because they're shooting on manual. So I would recommend shooting on aperture priority, because let the camera pick some of those settings for you. And I go into a long rant about why this is the way to shoot, but I won't do it tonight. Anyway, so that would be one thing. As far as this image is concerned, it's very, very nice. It's a beautiful scene. Again, the only thing is you've kind of put the subject right smack dab in the middle. And so you could have made it a little bit stronger let's see here. If I can bring this up, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Whoops, sorry about that. Okay, so let's see. This photo here is going to be, oh, here we go. Okay. All right. So what you could have done on this one is by putting the subject right in the middle, it's okay. Sometimes that works. I'm not a big, you know, you got to have to follow the rule of thirds. That's not what I'm saying here. But what I'm saying is, it's nice looking, but it's not very dramatic. It doesn't. So again, it's about leading the viewer. So what you could have done, this is just a suggestion, is that you could have, is the sky really that important? Or if it is, how important is it? What is the most important thing, right? So I think you could have done something like this. And then I would have also kneeled down and used this road or the walkway to draw the viewer to the scene, because this is obviously this is the hero here. We're trying to get him to look, but if you were to kneel down or include more of this walkway in the foreground, then the foreground would have led the eye right to where you want him to look. So and also you've got these nice pretty flowers on the right. You could have used that as well if you would have tilted your body a little bit and maybe use those flowers on the right side. Again, the flowers, the walkway, and at a low angle, and then the home and the mountains in the background. It'd have been a little stronger image for you. But it's certainly beautiful. Technically, it's good. I mean, it's a beautiful scene. You can't argue with that. You know, let's go. It's so beautiful. It's in Switzerland, I think you said. So really makes me want to go there. But again, photographically, I think you could have. I think you could have definitely used that foreground to draw the eye to where you want it to go. A little bit. So anyway, that is. But still, good job on that one. Of course, when you got that kind of scenery, it's kind of hard to mess up, right? It's kind of like, so. Okay, next one is, this photo was submitted by CH, and, oh no, I'm sorry. This was submitted by BC, I think. All right, yeah. BC, yeah, BC. Got too many letters in here, I see. And the photo is of his daughter, I think, in New York. And again, first of all, beautiful woman, so it's really, you know, hard to take a bad picture of her, I can tell that. But again, what is the most important thing? So is, where do you want me to look? What is it I'm supposed to understand about this photo other than she's a wonderful woman and she's laughing and smiling, and that's great. So that part is good. But the other thing is, once again, how do I use composition to try and strengthen the image? How do I use composition to lead the person where I want them to go? And you want to do that by, so again, if you look behind her there, she's got a great set of stairs there and a railing. Well, use that railing. I don't know. I like to use foreground to draw people to the background. And that's what I'm trying to teach you guys. Is so if you'd have had her, moved her up and put her next to the railing, leaning on the railing or on something like that, and then gotten down low, use that railing to bring the viewer right up to her eye, then that would have used the leading lines to draw them to her face and her sitting there on the steps or whatever. So think composition, think what's most important. First of all, the first thing I want to look at, okay, let me back up. One thing that I do, and it may be because I do a lot of magazine work, the first thing I look for in a photo is background. You're like, background? Don't you look for lighting? No, I look for background. Why background? Because background is what tells the story. All right? If you include background in your image, your background will subtly tell the story of what's going on. All right. And I'm not sure how many, if we had too many that did that, but really, so background, just a little bit of background. It doesn't have to be, you don't need a little bit out of focus, but a background can either help tell the story or destroy the story. So use that background as the first thing you want to do. That's at least what I do. I want to include, do I want to include the background or do I want to eliminate the background? It's the first question. The second question is, what's the most important thing I'm trying to get across? What am I trying to say? Who's what I call the hero? Now, I don't technically do this, but the term I came up with is squinting. In other words, if you were to squint, what's the first thing your eye sees? Okay, it's not technically accurate, but that's what you're trying to do. Is what you want's the most important thing in the frame. What does he want people to see first? And then that's the thing you want to concentrate on. Then the third thing is, how do I put that person or that object in the frame so that people look there first? And there's a lot of things, again, we talked about value and things like that. And value goes to telling light and dark, goes to actually drawing the eye. A darker object your eye will not be drawn to, but a lighter object they will. So if you have a bright light behind somebody, that's where your eye is going to go. If it's a darker object and the light is on the person, that's what they're going to see first. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling here, but the point is, the background is the most important, then the subject of what you want people to look at, and then the third thing is the lighting to reinforce those things, to draw the eye to where you want them to go. Okay? All right. So, yes, it is a nice photo, Tank. I agree. Okay. Let's see here. Whoops. Keep hitting the wrong button. Okay. All right. So the next photo was submitted by CH, and CH has been shooting about 3 or 4 years, and this is one of my favorite photos in the whole series. They struggle with posing, which, believe me, everybody does. I think it's a tough thing to do, and I could give you some tips on that, but I can't do it tonight. But maybe we should cover that. Maybe we should do a posing session. But the story behind this photo, and I think it works. The photo works without knowing this, but knowing behind the scenes story, behind the story, really makes it even more compelling. But the story was their son's best friend passed away unexpectedly, and they were doing a memorial moment before the first junior high wrestling mat at the high school, and they took this picture. They say they took this picture as tears were forming behind me. Were forming in their eyes. Reminds me how precious each moment was. So I think it's an incredible photo. You certainly can't argue that it doesn't have all. I mean, even knowing that makes it even a more compelling photo. But it certainly has. I mean, color. The color certainly adds to this image. The lines, this is a perfect example of we're using lines to draw the viewer's eye. If it was just sitting on the color, on the red by itself, it would not be as strong an image, believe it or not. Obviously, the shape, the shoes are there, but those three things alone really do a great job of communicating to the subject, to the viewer, I should say, why, what's important about this image. The white against the blue, against the red is very, very strong, and the red shoelaces, the lines make it even more dramatic, because otherwise it would get lost if the lines weren't there. It wouldn't be as strong as far as breaking up the image and telling the people where to look. And then the shape, of course, adds that. So this is a very, very strong image, and I would say even without the story, CH, you've done an excellent job on this one. Keep at it, and I think you You should be commended on this one. Okay. So let's see here. Yes, I agree. Sue Ann says that it's an amazing photo, but it's even stronger when you know the backstory. But you know, this is what photography is all about, folks. It's about storytelling. It's not about taking pretty pictures. Now, we think it is, and I think that's why so many people start off doing landscape when they're starting out, because there are two things. Number one, it's everywhere. Okay, you don't have to go very far. And number two, it doesn't move. Okay, so it's easy to photograph. But photography, it's like photography should be really more than that, and it should be about telling a story and emotion. And there's a quote that I often use about how, I think Tolstoy said it, about, you know, art is really either creating emotion in somebody, good or bad, through writing or art or painting or sculpture, and some kind of arts of some medium of creating an emotion in somebody. And it doesn't matter whether it's a good emotion or bad emotion, but if you're able to create emotion, that's when art succeeds. I'm paraphrasing, of course. So, okay. All right. So let's see here. I think that's what we have for tonight. Now, the next thing I want to go over is my favorite part, and that is I'm going to let me mention a couple things first of all. I mean, before I start there, you may not know, but we're offering I'm offering a free coaching session to 4 people that ended last night at midnight. So we're going to be selecting the winners here any day this week, and you'll be notified. So thank you very, very much. I really appreciate you doing this, and I'm looking forward to meeting each of you that win. And also, I want to tell you something. I have come up with an idea to help. So let me back up. The reason I did the coaching, I'm offering the coaching session, is I really wanted to help you guys. I wanted to give at least 4 people, I would love to do 104 people, help to get you going and kickstart 2022. So I thought, what a great way to do this is do a free coaching session for 4 people. So that's the purpose. But I've come up with something that I want to do even more to help the rest of you guys that don't win. And I'm going to be announcing that on the next show or shortly before. So as soon as we get everybody selected for the that won, then I'm going to make an announcement on some other things. The only people that are going to be qualified for this are people that registered already, and you're going to get a private email with instructions on this other offer that I'm going to give you, which I think you'll be very pleased to see. Okay, so I think that's it. Let me make sure here. Sorry. And again, you guys know that we do this every, the first Tuesday of every month is the, if you're not aware of it, this is, we do the reviews the first Tuesday of every month. And I'm glad you guys are here, and we'll do this again next month, of course. So if you are interested in submitting your work next time, you can go to review.photomentor.tv. There's an application there or a form you can submit and put your images in there if you found this useful. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to tell you guys about is something that we were doing here, and this is okay. Let me back up a second. So what's the purpose of Photo Mentor? Why did I even start this whole thing to begin with, other than that I have no common sense and I'm just nuts and I really should be doing more things with my time? But anyway, the point is that I really I started Photo Mentor TV and Photo Mentor Academy as a way to educate, encourage, and mentor other photographers. One of the problems I ran into was that as I started hanging out on Facebook groups and things like this, I quickly became very discouraged, as maybe you are as well. I mean, I talked to many of you, I think you are. And the reason is you either don't get answers, you get the wrong answers, or you get no answers, or you get berated maybe. I don't know. The point is I see people in there and they're struggling. They ask a question and the people either don't answer the question correctly, or they'll give them what I call a YouTube answer. They watch some YouTube, they don't really know, they haven't done this in for real, and so they just read it somewhere or somebody else has said it and they repeated it. And that just drives me crazy. I don't talk much about my photography, but I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm an advertising, commercial advertising, and editorial photographer. I've done worked as a photojournalist, covered the president, et cetera, et cetera. The point is that I couldn't stand it anymore. I couldn't stand to see people giving bad information to new photographers that were all they're asking is for a little help. So that's why I started Photo Mentor TV. The other thing I've done is I wanted to acknowledge those of you that are really doing great work. Now, I don't mean great work in the sense that great photography. While that's good, that's important. There's more to being a photographer than just having pretty pictures and having sharp pictures and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot more to the game. I mean, it's about problem solving, and I'm not going to go into it. If you guys ever hear me talk about this or read any of my posts, I'm big on what the meaning of photography is, and especially from a commercial standpoint. So last month, we launched the very first award for what I call Photo Mentor Artist of the Month. And the person that won that was this lovely woman named Jessica Marshall. And this was the photo that moved me. And there's a long story behind this, Jess. And if you go to, Sue Ann will post a link in the comments. And then I think I'm also going to, or in the chat, and then I'm also going to put a link in the comment section. Or you can go to photomentoracademy.com and click on blog, or go to /blog and read the article that Sue Ann did on Jessica. It's just a wonderful, wonderful article. But I was inspired by Jessica's creativity, her vision, her resourcefulness. And this is an image, I don't think she called it this. I think I came up with this name. I don't remember. Called Kingdom. I don't remember. Jessica, I apologize. I don't remember which of you or I came up with that name, but I really liked it either way. And she came up with this image out of her head. She had a dream. And when I started asking her about it, and she was telling me how she created this image, I was just totally enamored, because it was very creative and very resourceful in the way she did it. So Jessica was the first recipient of the Photo Mentor Artist of the Month for January. So this month, we're going to award another person. And this person for the month of February is also, somebody that I think has been really talented in many, many ways. And so first of all, let me tell you what I think makes a winner. So again, I'm the only one that makes this decision. Nobody else knows who the person's going to be. They don't even know now. And they don't know why I picked this person, because it's different every month. So you can't enter. It's not a contest. You can't submit anything. You can't post anything. It's just me looking over what I call the family of the people in Photo Mentor and group, and I look at what you're doing, and I watch all the time, and I read all your posts, and I look for what I call the attributes that make an amazing person, an amazing photographer. So for example, one of the things I think that makes a successful photographer, you have to be curious. You have to want to know things. You have to be interested in things. You don't have to be a scholar, but you have to know things, read books, listen to music, things like that, because that's what you draw from inspiration in your photography. The person that was selected this month really has showed me her passion, her humor, her curiosity, her creativity, and most of all, her determination. I just love to see what she's going to come up with next. Every challenge that I come up with and that I throw out, like, hey, we should do this, or like right now we're doing a challenge called No Selfie Selfie. And what happens is you have to take a photo of yourself as a selfie, but you can't show your face, but it has to be something that's recognizable. So people go, oh, that's Lee or that's Sue Ann or whoever. And this person just has picked up the gauntlet and run with it. And I really love that. And so every time I do that, they take that and they with both hands and they run with it. The other reason that I want to give this person an award is the recognition of how quickly they've improved. I've been watching them for a while, maybe about a year, I don't know. And they have really, it's not about being there. It's not about being a master or being the best photographer. It's about the journey. And I've seen this person really, really put everything into it and just go full speed ahead. And it really has warmed my heart to see them grow as quickly as they have. And so that's also the reason that I selected this person. So this month, I would like to congratulate the person that's going to be the winner for February, and that is Allie Nova. And Allie is just a wonderful woman. If you guys, I encourage you guys to get to know her. And she has really shown me determination is really the best word I can describe it as. She loves life. I think she recently hurt herself. I think she hurt her foot, and so she hadn't been able to shoot much. But I've seen her out there in the rain and the tough conditions. I believe she lives in New Zealand. I apologize, Allie, if I get it wrong. I know it's South Wales, I think. Is that New Zealand or is that in Australia? I think it's New Zealand. Anyway, whatever. But the point is, they're in lockdown. And so I still have seen her be able to try and find stuff in her backyard or whatever. So it hadn't stopped her. So anyway, I would just like to congratulate Allie Nova as Photo Mentor Artist of the Month for February. And, of course, as a way to kind of also congratulate her and to help her out a little bit, she will receive a Amazon gift card for $100 to spend on useless camera accessories that I'm sure someone told her she needed. Not me, by the way. But that she's been wanting to buy but didn't want to spend the money on it. So anyway, Allie, I really, I think you're a wonderful person. Thank you very much for being part of the Photo Mentor family and for sharing your love of photography with the rest of the world. So congratulations, and just, again, you guys get a chance to meet and talk with Allie. I think you guys will see why she was selected. So anyway, that's it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, guys. And we will see you again next week. And again, if you have any questions or anything like that, you can always leave them. You can always DM me directly or leave them on the Facebook page, on Photo Mentor Facebook page. Or if you're interested and you think that you want to apply for membership in the Facebook group, I encourage you to do that. You can do that by going to photomentor.tv/join. It's a little different than most groups. It's very education oriented. It's small on purpose, and but I really try and do individual hands-on in there for you guys, and I don't want the thing to be huge so I can't do that anymore. It's all about helping each other, and that's the purpose of the group. So if you're interested in applying or getting someone to sponsor you, I would encourage you to do that. So, again, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. And listen, we will see you again next week.